Speaking of NFL this weekend, we got some good games. Teams that really need to kind of prove. Prove is a big word, but teams that need bounce back wins. Kansas City, Rob, struggling really unlike we've seen them struggle in the Patrick Mahomes era. And I say that because even though they only have 5 losses and they've lost 5 games before in his era, they have never struggled after the bye. And they are now 1-2 after the bye, I believe it is. And they've lost 4 of their last 6 games. And that is unheard of for Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes in this era. They're actually, 1-3 since the bye. Last week, of course, they beaten by Buffalo. Green Bay beat them the week before that. And now they've got New England. And another big team that needs to bounce back is Philadelphia. Philadelphia started 10-1. Last 2 weeks, they faced 2 of the best teams in the league, 2 teams that they're going to compete with to get to the Super Bowl, the 49ers and the Cowboys. And both of them drubbed the Eagles. 49ers beat them by 23 points, and the Cowboys beat them by 20. So I want to ask you, Kansas City is at New England this weekend, and Philadelphia is at Seattle, which is desperate for a win, trying to keep their playoff hopes alive after losing 4 straight. Which team of Philadelphia and Kansas City do you think needs the bounce back win more?
I think it's the Chiefs. And I think it's the Chiefs because of the opponent they're playing. Philadelphia going to Seattle, a team that made the playoffs last year, is desperate to be. The Patriots are playing for nothing. I don't care if it's in New England or not.
3 wins.
Okay? You can't beat that team. Then you got, say they scuffle offensively or something. Bill Belichick usually can put together a decent defense, Chris, but still, you got to beat up.
Their defense is good.
Right, their defense we've seen some games this year, so I'm not poo-pooing the defense, but if you don't beat that team, given where you are, like Philadelphia could play well, and Seattle's desperate to keep their playoff hopes alive. They're on the road, Chris. They had a stretch where they won 4 straight big games, and now they're, they weren't going to win every game, Philadelphia.
Right.
And I'm not saying that they want to go there and get hammered and look terrible, but that's a real, if they can bounce back and win that game on Seattle with their season on the line, it says a lot about the Eagles. But it would say more to me if the Chiefs lay another egg offensively and just can't get anything going, and they lose 9-6, Chris, or something. You know what I mean? Something like that. That would be, you would be like, okay, something is really wrong here.
I can't disagree with anything you said about the Chiefs because it would be alarming if they lost to New England, a team that can't score. Now, if the Chiefs may only score 10 points, 13 points, whatever it may be, but New England can't score. And so I agree with you that it would say a lot if they lost to New England. However, I think Philadelphia needs the bounce back even more. And here's why. I agree with you. I picked the 9, even though Philadelphia is my pick to get to the Super Bowl and actually to win it. I picked San Francisco to beat them because, as you said, you're not going to win every game.
It's just impossible. Remember, they had a gauntlet of a schedule.
Right. They had beaten the Cowboys, beaten the Chiefs, beaten the Bills, and then they faced the 49ers. So I get all that, and I agree with you. But here's why I think Philly needs it even more, the win, than Kansas City. Because Kansas City has proven that they can win the big one, and that they can overcome tough situations. Remember a few years ago when they started 3-4 and everybody was like, oh, they figured out Patrick Mahomes, the cover 2 and all that. And obviously they've won a Super Bowl since then. That year they bounced back and had a great year. Like, they have had not a stint like this. As I said, they've always been good after the bye. But I cannot, even if they lose to New England, Rob, it will raise ring alarms that have not rung for me yet. All right. And that will be like, wow. Like, this is a team that knows it's playing poorly, a team that's been talking about getting it together, playing a 3-win team, right? Like, there's no everything. Your adrenaline should be there. You know you need to win. Like, you've talked about it. Like, there would be no excuse. I'm with you in that. But I still would not write off the Chiefs from potentially getting to the Super Bowl. And my pick is the same as yours in the AFC. I'm picking Baltimore, and we picked them in the preseason. So I'm not saying I'm picking the Chiefs, but I will not say the Chiefs cannot win the AFC until they are eliminated from the playoffs. Especially, Rob, this year, when, let's face it, outside of Baltimore, because of the injuries, Buffalo might not even make the playoffs. Miami is a finesse team that's gotten pushed around by a lot of tough teams. I don't think Miami is going to win the AFC. Jacksonville, we know they got issues. The other teams in the AFC North don't have quarterbacks. Cleveland and Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. Denver is looking okay, but, they don't score a ton of points themselves. So, I mean, the AFC is open, and I think the two best teams still are Baltimore and Kansas City.
Yeah, but I think
Philadelphia needs it because they really haven't proven it, Rob. They got to the Super Bowl, but they haven't proven with this group that they can win it. So that's why I think Philly needs it to just, their alerts are on too. They know, look, we got to get together. We haven't been playing well all year. They've been saying it, and yet they haven't turned it around. So they need to do it this weekend.
I get it. I just think that the opponent has to play in it. The Seattle's desperate. It's hard sometimes, Chris, even if you're a good, like I say, it's different if you get blown out in a game and you don't show up. Okay, then I'll buy into that. If you play well and they beat you on the road trying to save their season, it's hard for me to look at you and go, oh, you're not ready for this, or you couldn't bounce back. But that's a tough game to win on the road and in those circumstances. Beating the Patriots, if you're Kansas City, coming off last week where you're disappointed with the offsides and all this, and you don't bounce back and you lose yet another game. And the problem I have I hear you with saying, look at the rest of the AFC, but the Chiefs are flawed too. That they can lose to a lesser team.
They're absolutely flawed.
Because of their receivers, because of their play calling, whatever it is. Like they got some issues that would scare me too. Like, it's just not what they've been in the past, and they could get got, Chris.
Well, I agree. This is the first year,
right, that they could get got by somebody.
Like, since Tom Brady left the AFC, that you really feel like, they can be gotten. Like, I think, Rob, this is what I say about the Chiefs, and I want to know if you agree. They've gone from being the favorite to just a contender. Like, again, there's no way I can write them off, but they're not the favorite anymore. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, they can't be. They're not.
They're still a contender.
Yeah, I mean, they're in the mix. Obviously, a ball bounce here. Guys play better than they have been playing all year. You're asking for a lot of stuff.
They've literally lost 2 games because of drop passes. 2. Actually, maybe 3. I mean, the MVS drop against Green Bay, we don't know if they would have won that game. But Kadarius Toney cost them the Lions game, which a pick 6. They lost by a point. And that was ball thrown perfectly to him, and he just dropped it. And then, of course, last week, when he was offside. So,
but that's he was offsides. I mean, like,
no, I know. I'm just saying, like, they still are. Again, they're still as good. There's no way I can write them off in the AFC, even if they lose to the Patriots. They've got too much pedigree. Their defense is actually better than ever. That's the other thing. Like, their offense isn't what it used to be, but the defense is better than ever. And so I think, look, I would take New England and the points. I think they're 8.5-point underdogs. I think they will cover that, but I think Kansas City will win this game. And I think Philadelphia will win as well. I agree with, like I said, everything you said. Seattle is desperate. They've lost 4 straight. They might miss the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah. Geno Smith looks like he could be back. I don't know if that's official yet, but it's looking that way. And, they've got a good coach, and obviously they've got a nice home field advantage. And so it's going to be a tough game, but Philly, like I said, they haven't proven anything. They've only proven they can get to the Super Bowl. They haven't, they need to come out and, to me, wipe away the stench of these last 2 losses that have been bad.